Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a flip-through comparison between three decks. Really, I am comparing one of my recent purchases, the 100% plastic Rider Tarot deck, in regards to the color and the lines and stuff, and I'm comparing it to a new deck, RWS deck. So this is new and this is new. And well, I guess it came out about a year ago, but it's new to me. I've had it for maybe a couple of weeks. And then also the deck down there, I don't have the box for that, but I think that's an 80s a deck. I have a lot of those decks. I'm not sure exactly what year that is, but there's the copyright is on it. So I'm going to go and look through the deck. So I'll just move the boxes aside and we'll go through. One thing I want to say at the beginning, I am impressed by that plastic deck. It is, I've been using it a lot since I got it, probably, exclusively. And I love shuffling. It shuffles like butter. When you first pick it up, it does feel like it's kind of flimsy, but it's not. It's actually thicker than, I can't pick it up, but it's actually slightly thicker than this deck, or let me feel it, and this deck as well. So the cards are thicker, but they are very pliable. They're very pliable. And they're plastic, so they're washable. In fact, I've washed my deck in sudsy water and then rinsed and dried. And there's, my deck had a little bit of an odor with it, so I just did that, and eventually it did go away. And so anyway, but there are a little bit. It's more the colors are more saturated, just a little bit. In the plastic deck, but I love the coloring of it anyway. So let's go through. So we have the Fool. Like I said, this is the new one, and that's a little bit maybe 20-year-old deck, and that's, of course, the plastic one. You can see the faces are very similar. I mean, it is. I haven't seen anything that that is different. It seems to be identical. There's nothing missing. The coloring is a little different. This one is a little bit redder, the new one, but this one is sort of just a little bit. It's just less red, but it is. It's a beautiful deck. Priestess. Now this one is it is a little bit the blue is a little bit more saturated, but this is as well compared to an older one. But I'm not going to be using I have some vintage decks, RWS decks, and I'm going to be using this one exclusively. I just love it. The Empress. See, the faces are very similar. She's a little bit more toned in the face. But in the new version, look, it appears just a little more higher red in the cushioning. So there's not big market change in the hues. Like, they didn't completely change some coloring, like in shoes or something. But I think there is, and now that I think about it, I think in the Five of Wands there's a shoe change there. Hierophant. Just a slight difference, but I think the new deck is seems to be more saturated than you see that there's nothing. It looks beautiful to me. Slight more tone in her face, but you know, I am amazed about the plastic cards. For one thing, it's not easy to, to get the chemistry, to get the card of that, trying to mimic a paper playing card, and one that can take a certain ink or color, and I am, just amazed at it myself. These are closer in the new one and this one than the older one. There's a different type of hue in that one, and in the border too. There seems to be the blue is more intense in this one, and seems to be just its hue is more along the line of that one than that one, I think. You can see there's not a lot of variation. No, I had to look over the camera to see whether, there's no, these look identical. But I would love for US Games to publish more decks in plastic. It just makes the shuffling. I riffle shuffle, and and I'm good at it anyway, but because I've been doing it. Because I've been doing tarot for many years, but it just is it's a pleasure. Now the blue is more intense in this card, but you see, there's no detail missing, or and again the blue is a little more intense in that one. And this is the new one. It's doing more sliding. Because that's with plastic cards, that can be an issue. They're slippery. But it's not. Well, I have gloss cards a lot slippier than these plastic ones, and they seem to be steady here. The hue is a little darker in the child. You see that even the squiggle is there, if that's important to you. I wonder how many things was a mistake in the original printing, especially in the Marseille decks, and then people just adopted it. Oh, it has to have that line there. Could be a printer error. Because see, I don't see too much. Well, it's a little bit different in the hue in the face, but I don't find myself garish at all. I mean, then if you would, the Radiant would be very garish. But it's not like the Radiant. This is, again, the blue is more saturated. And this one's more saturated than that one. Mr. Leo. I think we're going to see that the blues are going to be a little more saturated. Not excessively so. Again, the blue. Just a little bit more saturated than that. Now let's see if I remember about the five of... I think it was in the five of wands that there were introduced a boot color change. The shadow on the heels not as intense, but in the blue again is the blue sky is a little bit more blue. The boots in the older version are a little on the yellow, are more yellow. So I'm gonna before I have a disaster happening behind the scenes. Oh, okay, here. Is this it? Oh, yeah, well, I guess it's in this one, too. You can see the fellow over here. His boots, that's green, and over here, they're both the same color, yellow. But let me look over at it. No, these are very similar. I think that's what it was. Oops. The except for a little bit of the saturation in the see how slippery these ones are. In the plastic deck, and I think it's not overly done. It's not overly done, but it looks like it's compared to this one, these two are very similar, except for that saturation in the sky, and some of the blues and some of the yellows have a tinge of orange to them. But you see the green in that one is a different green. But I'm of the thing that I bet you things would have been really different if Pixie Smith had a computer and a CAD program. And especially with the Marseille decks. I mean, back in the 15 or 1600s. I mean, they didn't have any technology except for wood block. So I bet you there's lots of errors that have now been incorporated as legend or whatever. They are very similar, and this one has like a pink hue to it. Yeah, I had to go over and look to see with my eyeballs, and it's the same. And with that pink hue, same with that one. Very, very similar. So if you're getting a new normal deck, a paper deck, it's very similar in coloring, except for like I said, some of the saturation in the sky as the new deck, as the plastic deck. She's a little bit more toned in her face there. More like that, the older one. You see, there's all the details there. That's because it's the same card. They just printed it on plastic with some little bit of color adjustments, maybe for the plastic. But I have been impressed since I got it. A little bit, like I said, just a hue darker, more in that card, but in the faces are very similar. Make a wish. Same intensity in the red. It's a little bit more, there's a debate whether this is at night, right? And but if it is, that looks more convincing to me. Well, again, the sky is a little bit more blue. Again, this seems to be a little bit more saturated than that, but there's I don't know, like more of a grayness to that one. Yeah, I can see it too. Again, I hope this is not like watching paint dry. Yeah, you can notice the more of the hue, but it seems to be something that is part of the nature of the card. If they took the hue out, there'd be an outcry. I'm sure. Again, it's a little different. The it's a little bit more like they put a little bit of orange in that yellow or red, whatever they would do to make it more, not quite mustardy, but maybe getting there. It's probably called that. A little bit more saturation in that card too. And look at the difference in the shirts. His face is just a little bit more. Oops, I almost put that in the wrong pile. Very similar. There's a little bit of more of a mustardy. Yeah, just a tinge more. More close to this one than that one. Or close, more close. Well, I think that these two are closer. But you can see that all of the lines, all of the, there's no detail, nothing is blurred, no faces have had little alterations to make them look like a different face. Because people are going crazy about what was on the box, but she didn't. The card looks identical to the traditional. Okay, I don't see any differences there. And that's it. So I'm just going to go and shuffle them. Just 1 second now. There. So I just gathered up the cards because I was just throwing them on the table next to me. But, I mean, they have, once you get they just, I guess I'm a little too close, but just a second. I'm just going to raise it up just a bit. Okay. But they are so nice, and I like them. I like how they riffle. I like how they overhand. If you're an overhand shuffler, yeah, you'll love this deck too. I always make sure I do this all the time, but make sure you square up your deck, and then take a portion. It doesn't have to be half because it should be random. And it's, you get used to it and it becomes very much like a regular deck, except that it is a lot easier to shuffle. So well done, US Games. I love this deck. I'd love to see some of your other decks. I'd love to see a more borderless version on plastic as well. Anyway, thank you for watching if you stayed this long, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.